Last episode on sailing Millennial Falcon. Having hauled the boat out of Spice Island Marina in Grenada, we were off to a great start. The old propeller came off in record time, and the thorough hull spraying left the hull in a near ready to paint condition, leaving us days ahead of schedule. On top of that, we had a few extra hands to help us with the final stages of the job.
Meanwhile, I had narrowed the cause of my suspicious propeller noise down to a spacer I had introduced last season when initially installing the propeller, the removal of which required me to cut an inch from the propeller shaft to ensure a correct fit of our new Bruntons H5 Autoprop.
Almost 2 years ago, we left it all behind for a chance at the sailing adventure of a lifetime.
It has not been smooth sailing since then, but together we are learning and laughing our way through.
Our hope is that if we laugh long enough, we can make our merry way around the world.
And this
is a Millennial Falcon. So day 2 has been again quite successful. We have done the bottom coat, it's now black. A few more bits and pieces to do on it. We need to move the stand so that we can get to the space underneath it. Oh, we're freaking exhausted, we are so tired. I think we have a small plan to go to a beach bar in a bay next door as a kind of reward for our really hard work today. Freaking exhausted today. Sean is still working, he's a nut job. I think he really wants to get us back out on the water.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is fit the propeller without the key and see how far up the shaft it gets, and then make a mark so that I know how far up the shaft the propeller gets when the key is not involved, so as to avoid it becoming key bound. So let's see how far it gets. Now there's another step here that you're supposed to take involving Prussian blue and ascertaining the degree of contact that your taper will give you. I strongly recommend that everyone does that step. Unfortunately for me, everything is closed and I have no Prussian blue or substitute on board. However, I'm pretty confident that the taper is correct given how difficult it is to remove when it is fitted with and without the key. Having just given it a tap, as you saw earlier, I will not be able to pull that off by hand anymore. But that's not an excuse. If you are at home and you have access to a product called Prussian Blue and the internet, get on there, check it out. Basically you lather up the shaft with Prussian Blue, let it get a little bit tacky, then put the propeller on without the key, spin around the shaft, having locked it off, and check where the rubbing marks occur. You should see nice even rubbing marks right the way through the taper. If you have a band in your taper, like 20, 30, 40%, that's the contact that you're achieving with the taper. You want as close to 100% as possible. So I strongly recommend everyone does that. Do as I say, not as I do, as the saying goes. It's the best I can do with what I have at the time. So we'll press on. Okay, now we do the same exercise with the key in the keyway. See if we can reach the same mark on the shaft with the leading edge of the propeller. So I've just rammed it onto the shaft and it seems to have met the same mark, and if I take the same pen and draw a mark as far down the tube as I can, they're almost dead parallel, so that's a good sign. Pretty well bang on. So if you ask me, that's about as good a fit as you can hope for without lapping the joint. And if you look down the barrel here, you can see that the key is not interfering, and that's not me recommending that you try to eyeball this, because a half, a quarter, an eighth of a mil can really screw you up. So you need to do this test to see how far up the shaft you can get it, because half a mil of keyway height can cost you 3 or 4 mil of distance up the shaft when you're talking tapers. So it'll become very obvious using that method if your key is too large, as I discovered yesterday when I put a 35 mil key on here, having not filed it back, and it just barely fit on there, and you could see daylight right through the other side. Also, if you're wondering what's going on with the shaft, I had to cut it yesterday, which was very stressful. This dimple is not something you find on, well, sorry, I shouldn't say that, I don't know that for certain. Is not something that was considered as part of manufacturing this, which is the retention nut for this propeller. And so in order to get this nut all the way home so that it's pressing down on the propeller correctly, I had to file away some sections of my propeller, including this dimple, which was stressful. There's no going back now.
With that job wrapped up, we moved on to the next task.
Day four in the yard. The house is a bomb site because we've switched from working downstairs, yay, all downstairs jobs are done, to working inside. Ooh, crap, all inside jobs aren't done. So today's inside job is greasing and just making sure all of our seacocks are like pretty a-okay. A lot of them, I'm going to say about 3 out of the 9 that we have maybe, are really hard to open. So Adam has been, I've been doing a bit of food shopping. It's completely irrelevant to the whole task. I've been doing a bit of food shopping while Adam's been focusing on seacocks. Do you want to explain what the situation is?
We have really jammed up, really bad seacock, and I've just in my attempts to recondition it and grease it on the boat, I've discovered that the whole thing just turns in itself, which means all the seal is totally cracked and stuffed. And because it's corroded and not sealed properly, it all needs to come out. And of course, we've booked into Splash at 3 o'clock tomorrow. And this just happens like the day I finish everything. It's the last thing to do.
We then had to use some very inventive methods for removing the seacock while squeezing ourselves into a small cupboard.
So we are stuck. And the splashdown day was today. It's Friday, 3 o'clock. Last night I was just checking and greasing all the seacocks and discovered that the seacock for the rear head essentially was turning in its entirety within the hull, which means that all the seal is broken and generally the whole thing was stuffed. So whilst I'm disappointed that we're not in the water, which unfortunately pushes our splashdown date to, at this stage, Wednesday, which is 4 days we didn't anticipate, it's also additional exposure to the risk of being stuck here given COVID-19 and the way of the world at the moment. We're itching to get back in the water and get free and clear of all this madness, or at least get mobile again. So unfortunately we're here till Wednesday at this point. So yeah, now I had to basically cut out the seacock. Fortunately the plastic seacock was quite easy to cut through, so then I was able to knock it out. And today's job is to reinstall and rebed the seacock. But I have to, because this is a tapered fitting and we can't get any tapered fittings here, they're all sort of bronze, flush fittings. I have to sort of I have to build up the beveled section in the hole with the hull this morning so that the seacock will sit flush, so that's what I have to do now. And then the rest should be fairly simple exercise. So, yeah, a little bit disappointing, but we just keep on trucking.
That's way too much.
No, it's not.
Way too much.
Maybe it's too much. Maybe a little too much.
Oh my god, so much of the top layer.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is how I end up making too much. So I'm like, just a little bit more of this, just a little bit more of that. Yeah,
looks like a shot. Okay, so Adam is fiberglassing around the corner, but because he is still muddling his way through, he doesn't quite want to show his muddling away on camera. So try to stick a camera in his face and he's like, go away pest. So he's currently doing that now, and I'll show you the finished product. But yeah, he's mixed up 50-50 silica and micro balloon to give it a little bit of strength, but also to make it easy to sand afterwards. And obviously the resin as well. It's also only 8 AM in the morning and we are still not haven't had breakfast and only have one coffee down, but we just want to get this task underway and we're kind of like, yay, let's go do it. But we're still a little sleepy and the yard's still kind of waking up. I think I've got their first haul out of the day, which is all that noise banging on around me.
So I think it's pretty safe to say we've figured out who's better at working with silica. I very quickly handed over the torch because it was all sloppy and we took the inner filling out. I was like, this is just, it's all going to custard. And so yeah, we cleaned it all out.
And I'm good with working with custard.
And Khiara took over and was like, I got this, man. So she thickened up the silica by probably a factor of 2, which is definitely a smart move.
Yeah.
Took out the innards and now is very successfully smearing it in the working space.
Okay.
So then donut.
You're a donut.
Yeah.
Donut.
Oh yeah, that's hard up against it already and went just hand tight. We're trying a new type of seacock.
And a new angle.
It's just a bit strange. I didn't have the bronze flanged seacocks that we have all over the rest of the parts of the boat in stock, and obviously given the state of the world right now, nothing's coming in. So this was not a bad second. We've got a bronze thru-hull and this hardened. I think it's actually it's not plastic. It's much better than plastic, and it's reinforced epoxy something or other. I can't remember what it is, but I looked up the reviews and they were all stellar. I think that's a pretty good installation. There's certainly corrosion resistance, or the valve itself is. Yeah, and it's the best we can do with what we have where we are, which is our mantra. So yeah, go team.
Everyone have a look at our room. That used to be a bed. One project on the boat equals unlivable space. Nicely sanded, acetoned.
Yep.
Ready for the gun.
Looks good.
Alright, my turn.
Here you go.
All okay? Okay, so it's the day after we put the thru-hull in. Just checking up, seeing what it needs, and just going to take a little bit of the sealant that we used off and paint around the edge pretty much. It's looking good though. It's looking pretty good. So somebody just came up to our boat about 10 minutes ago and they said to us that if we want to get hauled out today, which is 2 days earlier than what we've booked for, then we need to get things wrapped up and pretty much ready to go in an hour. We're ready, but we started a few projects and maybe we didn't finish them off fully. So right now we're frantically running around trying to put things downstairs so that our cockpit is clean for us driving out here. Yesterday we took off our backstay to replace our backstay bolts. So we have a halyard currently holding up the backstay on the mast. It should be alright, but we'll need to re-secure that with another halyard, maybe our spinnaker halyard or something. So it's very much we're all running around frantically, putting things away, cleaning things up. all kind of getting ready to get hauled in the next hour or so. It's all very frantic, all a bit panicked, but at least we're going back in. This is Monday now, we were scheduled to go in on Wednesday, and we're only like 2 days behind our initial schedule of Friday, so not too bad. And needless to say, Claire and Sean, I guess, are like really super happy and super keen to go back in the water, so it's a good sign. It's very, very good. We'll soon be back out there. Are we ready?
So,
Yeah? It's time! Everyone's getting ready, everyone's coming around to get the boat hauled out. Adam is feeling a bit nervous of the seacock more than anything else. I'm probably feeling more nervous of the propeller. We shall see on both fronts. There she goes. Oh, that was a definite swing there. Our little Millie definitely had like a jerk, like, what, we're going backwards now, are we? Nerve-wracking. Hey Ats, how are the seacocks?
yeah, good.
Yeah? Okay, we're back on the boat. Seacocks are all good, nothing's leaking. That was Adam's concern. My concern now, whether the propeller makes us go forward or backwards is next. I think we're not fully down in the sling though, so we'll see how that goes. Alright, we're doing a shaft check, see whether our boat moves. Always a good thing before being released from the mooring. I can confirm that we are reversing. This is good. Alright, how are we doing?
So far so good. Everything sounds fine, feels fine, no undue vibrations. We're getting thrust. Propeller's certainly not making that crazy noise that it used to. I don't think it is.
No, I don't think so.
Doesn't sound like a 737, a 172 is beneath us. We're making good speed. That seacock I showed you, could you just run down there, open up the cupboard just now that we're moving and shaking and the boat's under load? Just check that there's no leaks.
Okay, we're out, we're good, we're good. Oh, I feel like we're so much faster. Alright. Yay, we're not sinking!
We are back in quarantine. And
Can move 30 meters.